It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now it's time for my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what's in Tim's background. And Tim, I'm going to say just a wild stab here. It's your new Pope, Father Guido Sarducci. Am I right about that? No? Yeah.
Well, you're on the right track. It's,
okay. Let's take a look here.
But apparently, no Pope yet.
Ah, okay. And
still black smoke.
Yeah. So, it's really a testament to a guy's longevity. Father Guido Sarducci was on SNL for about 40, 50 years ago, I think. And I still remember his 5-minute university. Okay. And, it was the cut rate university. And part of it was spring break was drinking a glass of orange juice. That was it. I
remember he was on Letterman and he was talking about the movie Flashdance. And he said, everyone knows by now that that wasn't her dancing in that movie. Well, I watched the movie again and I watch it real close. That ain't her welding neither.
Hey, great guy. We should resurrect him. Yeah. Jesus can, be resurrected. How about Father Guido Sarducci? So, I got to tell you, Tim, I'm actually really bored with the news. On that, I listen to this commentary podcast, the Neocon podcast, sure, every day, and I try to plagiarize from it as much as possible. And I realize they have to go where the news takes them. But lately, it's been really repetitious. It boils down to this. Trump does something mind-boggling, and the fear is expressed that whatever merit there is to what he does, it's all going to boomerang on the conservative cause in the country. Rinse and repeat. It's the same podcast every single day. And it's okay, fine. Now, I notice apparently there was a Fox News poll. And it's Fox News. Okay. It's not, YouGov.com or whatever. And
538.
Yeah. Trump is like the lowest for the first 100 days in office. He's at 44%, which is even lower than Trump won and lower than everybody in history. And it just seems that, with these tariffs and people aren't even feeling the shock of them yet. And when the shelves are empty, in the summer, that may be the telltale sign.
Shelves are empty of what?
Whatever you want to buy. I mean, this is really hurting. It's hurting small businesses which rely on
cheap Chinese crap.
Well, okay, here you go. I thought you were not an ideologue, not a MAGA guy on this. So
I'm not. I understand.
Yeah.
I understand tariffs, but I also think the fears are overblown. I think a lot of the crap we import is crap.
Well, I mean, I'm not talking about tchotchkes or something. I'm talking about stuff from that manufacturers actually use. Plus, I mean, we said, I'm fatigued from the whole tariff talk already. I listened to a couple of podcasts on it, and we've talked about it. That's it. I'm ready to move on. But why don't people? I mean, is it that difficult if there isn't a manufacturing job to train to become a plumber? Is that I had to retrain? I had to retrain to go back to being a lawyer. And I'm still paying my dues. I'm taking continuing legal education because that's what the requirements are.
Now, I grew up in a factory town, and boy, people are 20 years later. People after the factory closed, people were still waiting for it to reopen.
Oh yeah,
so it's just kind of
not the best strategy. And who wrote a great piece on that for Commentary Magazine, as a matter of fact, was a guy named J.D. Vance about 10 years ago. And he wrote about Janesville, Wisconsin. And J.D. Vance is a writer. I mean, that guy's really good. But he didn't offer any solutions at the time. It was just all the problems. They had tried so many different things. And, now I will, give him the benefit of the doubt and say that it was a genuine conversion to Trumpism, even though, cynical me would say, well, isn't this politically convenient? It helped you get elected senator from Ohio. But no, fine.
No,
But
I
really,
don't trust anyone that can schmooze his way into Hollywood and then claim to be a conservative after that. I mean,
well, okay, there you go.
anyone that can suck up to Ron Howard and Amy Adams
You're
is
preaching to the choir on
suspect
that.
in my mind.
Yeah. Plus, he didn't grow up poor. I mean, he's from that area, but now his mother was a drunk. Okay, granted, there's that, but in any
was that a Rust Belt town, the one he grew up in?
it's
not sure
Janesville. That's where Paul Ryan is from.
No, that's
Janesville.
That's Janesville. That's not where James
No, not where
Hanson's
he's from. Right. He was Appalachian, right?
Yeah, it was coal mine, coal town.
I confess I only saw a little bit of the movie. I mean, every time I see Glenn Close, it's like I expect her to be making rabbit stew. And so in any event, so as far as the Pope goes, here was a big problem. When was it proper to tell jokes? I mean, first of all, I don't have standing to tell jokes because I'm not a Catholic. Are you Catholic?
Yeah, I was raised Catholic.
Okay, so I mean,
I guess I'm still Catholic. I still go to church. So.
Oh, right. I mean, did you feel the compulsion to joke about this immediately, and you are a comedian?
It's always been my philosophy is that we're all made in God's image, right? That's your
right.
part of the Bible. So
Yeah.
if God is all knowing and all loving, he's also all humorous and all sarcastic.
Totally.
So not only does he get my jokes, he likes them.
No, right. And no, I agree. And my philosophy has always been tragedy plus 0 equals comedy. So but so anyway, you get like,
and also the humility of this man. I mean, he was a Jesuit. He was, his philosophy was to be like Christ and to be completely humble. So it would seem to me that even he would enjoy jokes at his expense.
Did you see that I mean, he had like no assets. I don't think he had 100 euros to his name.
Well, you kind of the palace and meals.
You don't really need it.
Palace, meals, and Pope Mobile are all covered.
Sure, reduce all. Come on, everybody's saying, "Oh, he's not liquid." Okay, well, he's got all this stuff.
It doesn't mean that he was a man of God. It could mean that he had a gambling problem.
Probably right. Okay, so Jeff Blehar of National Review, and I like when people try to sneak in the humor. So he went, Pope Francis has come in for a lot of criticism over the past several years, but say what you will, the man had exquisitely good symbolic taste when it came to timing his departure, which was, Easter season. So that sounded to me a little bit like saying that Mussolini ran the trains on time. I mean, that's all he. Oh, really? He had good timing for dying, but he was the radical. Set the church back a millennia.
It's from what I understand, what I've been reading, he packed the court. Is that his successor will be much like him because all the people who are on the board, I guess I don't know exactly what it's called.
Yeah,
are all his buddies.
So that's kind of like Mitch McConnell's stacking the court during Which, and by the way, speaking of the analogies to our form of government, so you don't really have to have a cardinal become the pope, just like the Speaker of the House doesn't have to be a member of Congress. It could conceivably be any Catholic.
A Met.
Who?
A Met.
A New York Met.
A Yankee.
A Yankee.
A Dodger. Doesn't have to be a Cardinal.
Yeah. Can you imagine that if an American Pope? Oh man.
There was actually a show on HBO called The Young Pope, and it was the first American Pope. It was an interesting show. I can't remember the name of the director. It was an Italian director that's a little surreal. So the show had enough weird for me to like it. But Jude Law was the young Pope.
Okay.
So and he was celibate, but he smoked.
Okay. So, do you think Hegseth is going to survive? All the indices are that he's in over his head.
I think I think he is. I mean, remember who appointed him, and it's
Right.
I'm sure that there's might have been a call and saying, do you want me to resign, sir? And he's like, no way, let him stew.
Now, I've heard
It's
that
just getting
first of all,
good.
this job is tough for anybody. I mean, it is running the Pentagon, but it's especially tough for him because he just doesn't have the administrative experience. But I also read somewhere it said that Trump brought him on because he was a good TV host,
Yeah.
good media presence, and now, despite the fact, of course, that they're cutting back the Pentagon budget and that he did put in his own makeup room, apparently. Well, all right, image is a lot. He's just not that good. I haven't seen him.
Well, I think in the previous administration, though, all the people in defense put on their own makeup. So
Yeah, well, right.
so,
Yes, they did.
So it is a nice change.
Yes, they did. Now, Hegseth did say, we just showed that tweet, that he doesn't want any fat people in the Army. Yeah. He said he will examine the promotion of fat people to leadership positions in the military and seek to stop them. So I'm just thinking, if that's the case, John Candy never appears in stripes. Okay. And the standards are way too high. I think you get the sergeant who will just say, drop and give me one. That's all we need nowadays in today's mechanized army. Am I right or wrong about that?
One of my favorite fat sergeants was in the German army in Hogan's Heroes. So
there we go. And he saw nothing. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. So we were talking about Pete Hegseth and his call for fitness in the Army. And in that vein, or clogged artery, whichever way you want to put it, did you see this Republicans Against Trump tweet about what Dr. Oz says? Now, what's Dr. Oz's job in the administration now? I forgot. It's certainly not senator from Pennsylvania, but I forgot what he does have a job in the administration.
Does he really?
Doesn't he? Isn't he an advisor or something? Or but Dr. Oz says it's your patriotic duty. Well, he's sworn in as the head of the Medicaid and Medicare services.
Oh, okay.
So he says it's your patriotic duty to take care of yourself. Healthy people don't consume healthcare resources. The best way to reduce drug spending is to use less drugs. I think he meant fewer drugs. It all starts with bad grammar. But
what no, he means less drugs. It's cigarettes and alcohol.
Yeah,
it's the high end drugs.
Yeah, I'm thinking,
if it's fine.
If we're talking about patriotism here, that on the 4th of July, we should probably show a colonoscopy of Joey Chestnut. Okay. And because otherwise we're extolling the virtues of hot dogs and we really shouldn't be.
I don't think there's a doctor in the world that wants to go up there.
I'm telling you, that would be a pay-per-view. I'm telling you.
It reminds me of an old joke I heard as a kid. The punchline is, all I remember is seeing that poor little monkey trying to put the cork back.
Okay.
You can write your own joke. I
can infer the setup. All right. In that vein, or clogged artery, here's this tweet from Nick NIK. Basically, it is some AI guy, and we don't have to play the bite because I don't have the attention span to actually listen to it, but he was on 60 Minutes. This deep mind CEO believes all diseases will be cured in about 10 years. Now, we grew up when we were going to have flying cars by Y2K, and it didn't happen. But
yeah, all diseases. Even the mental ones.
All right, save for the mental ones because we got to have something there to move on. To go to, but
then so does that mean there's death going to be cured?
I'm just wondering. I'm just wondering the ramifications. I don't think we could handle that. I think we would create.
I think we could handle. I think the younger generations get pretty upset about the fact that none of us are leaving.
Right. Where are the
They're
jobs?
all, they're all looking forward to our
Yeah.
exit.
They,
It's and once they're the majority, I mean, we'll be voted off the planet, I think.
yeah. Well, and then we'll have another planet to go to because Elon. And how about this Elon thing? And this whole Silicon Valley deal where with the designer kids and the push to have more children. And of course, he's doing his part by not
Sure.
knowing who they all are. But that that shrieks of dystopia.
I did not see the designer kids. What are you?
No, that yeah, there's
They're
it's
cloning a
Silicon
kid with a
Valley's
dire
leading
wolf
that
or
too.
something?
They get to. I mean, the more they learn about genetics, the more my and I remember when Pritzker was running the first time for governor of Illinois, and he was so anti I wanted to say anti-life, pro-abortion. He was pro-abortion, and I would have liked to ask him the question. Well, with technological and scientific improvements being what they are, soon we'll be able to have designer babies. Would you be in favor of mothers aborting their babies who are going to turn out to be morbidly obese, Governor Pritzker? So answer that one.
You know, it seems that someone who claims medical expertise would have learned about Ozempic by now.
Well, it's interesting. It's funny that you mentioned that because I just saw another tweet. I think I sent it to Chris. I mean, and it lists all the scary things about Ozempic, even more than you see in the commercials. Yeah, here's this. It's tweet from
Did you
Simo.
hear one of my favorites on the warnings is the rare and fatal split of the perineum.
Ouch! Ouch!
Yeah.
Well, here's some things. It shrinks your heart muscle. I mean, there's a whole list. And I didn't even want to go any further than that. Shrink your heart muscle. But there's, all kinds of things. What else? Nausea that ruins your appetite and your life.
But for some people, there's no worse disease than obesity.
I agree. But think they at least, they gotten to the point where it's not enough to do the disclaimers on the commercials. They've got to change the jingle. It's got to be changed from oh to Ozempic. Because it's kind of scary. But yeah,
I read an article on that jingle,
yeah.
and the reason why it sounds just like the album, they hired the guy out of obscurity that did the song. That's the original singer redoing the song. They re-recorded the song.
They actually had him do that.
They actually had him do it.
See,
yeah, probably
I just
the first time he's worked in 40, 50 years.
Yeah, I just thought he did what? He didn't claim artistic integrity. He didn't want to stop. No, thank you.
But it has been so successful. It's won all these awards, advertising awards, and that you'll notice there's a lot of drugs that are doing it now. There's I can't remember the one that.
Well, let's come up with
slow it down. Yeah, oh yeah, we could probably come up with some if I had time to
a
prepare
drug.
this.
Wait. I think the comedy. I don't want to.
It's the one for macular degeneration. It's
that's great.
It down, make it go slower. That one.
What about? What does it say? Oh, friends were phony. Do you know your song's being played every 20 minutes on TV? It took 50 years, but this guitarist's tune has become an inescapable hit. Yeah. Ozempic. Yeah. And I remember it was an irritating song back then, and it was about magic, not about taking the fat out of your.
But you see, that's the
gut.
thing. It was such an earworm back then. So when they go, oh, you think to yourself, magic. It's a magic. It's a magic drug. Not only does it cure diabetes,
so it's subliminal.
it helps you. Yeah, you always think magic when you hear that song because it's still in your head. It's people who have lost 99% of their memory with Alzheimer's. You go, oh, they'll go, it's magic.
Well, the thing about people who've lost their memory and have dementia, is the music is the last thing to go. I'm not making this up. I mean, my father had Lewy body dementia, and in the senior homes, you just even these people are shrunken over, slouched in their wheelchairs, and that you start playing music, and they remember all the songs from their youth.
Wow, play Sweet Caroline, and the whole nursing home goes da 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 da.
No, what really got me, and I think I've mentioned this before, and I don't because my short-term memory is gone, so I'm on the way, but they would play like songs like Daisy, but so those old.
Oh, I
songs,
still every time I hear that song, I think of Hal.
Well, me too.
As being decommissioned.
Well, and how about what did I think when I was in the nursing home and my father was in there, and I was thinking, wait, they're playing the song where my father's being decommissioned right now. and Dad, thanks for the joke. Appreciate it. Got a good laugh out of Tim. You're right here.
My mind is going. I can feel it. I'm afraid.
Yeah, the irony of these old, these senior citizens singing this song when their plug's being pulled. So anyway, yeah, so the music's the last thing to go. But I wanted to, I thought, we just ad lib brainstorm. Give me give me like a laxative, because that's, you need the product, right? You
could do Johnny Cash for Preparation H. It's and it burns.
Yeah,
burns.
All right, sure. There you go. The Ring of Fire. Yeah.
Or actually, yeah, for antibiotics used for gonorrhea, it's a hunka burning love.
Okay. Every burning song you need. Burn, baby, burn. What is it? Your vast deference or whatever it is.
Hemorrhoid Inferno.
Yeah. Oh yeah. All right. That's a wrap. We got that. All right. So Larry David, he does an op-ed. He doesn't have anything to do now that Curb's over. Okay. So he does.
Are you sure it's over? How many times has he said it's? He said it's over more than the times Cher did a farewell tour.
Right. Well, so he does an op-ed for the New York Times, and of course the New York Times is thrilled to get an op-ed from Larry David, and all it is just saying that he had dinner with Hitler. And it's just his way of comparing Trump to Hitler, and I think it's just his way of saying that he knows all these Nazi names like Leni Riefenstahl. Oh, aren't I intelligent? But it wasn't really that funny. I mean, I stopped reading after the first couple of paragraphs, yeah, we get it. I mean, like who doesn't compare Trump to Hitler? It's almost like
not
an artistic success.
It's almost like the JFK and Lincoln comparisons at this point, isn't it?
Now, who's Hitler's secretary?
Hitler once had a dog named Blondie. Trump once had a blonde doggy style.
There we go. You got them all. You got them all. All right. We'll move on to the next segment here. You got anything to plug? What's your next gig?
It'll be over by the time this airs, I think. So.
All right. Okay.
Doing something tonight.
Oh, okay. So you're not hosting an NFL draft show. Who do you think this is going to run after the NFL draft? Who do you think the Bears are going to take with their number one pick, which will already been made by the time people see this? I have no idea. No, you don't follow it. You don't care. No. It's all laundry to you. Right?
I would have to know college.
You know who the
what do the Bears need? A quarterback?
You know what? We need a new pope. Do you know who do you think is going to be the next pope? All right, Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And Tim, sometimes I think, if I were still on TV, and I haven't been on television in 12 years, but with the revolution in social media, especially Twitter, I mean, you can get all these clips that you could lead any newscast with that they never had access to before. Now, I don't think they would do it because when I was on TV, it was what I like to call the murder du jour in Englewood. Okay. I mean, every day they'd have. Okay, great stuff. And I even thought They used to have this guy, Russ Ewing, who would go out. It was a reporter for Channel 7 and Channel 5 at one point. He would actually deal like in hostage situations, have criminals give themselves up. But I thought there should be a variation on Russ Ewing, that somebody should go out there and be the agent for these families, because the TV stations were making all kinds of money running these stories about crime in the inner city. and just an agent would come up and say, well, you can't talk to the father of the bereaved right now, unless you kick in, so like at least some funeral expenses.
What's
station.
What's always funny to me when there's a murdered child, if they get them right right after, like when it happened, they're just their hair is a mess. They got sweatpants on. It's like, I can't believe that happened to my boy.
Yeah.
And then a week later, if they do a follow-up interview, oh, their hair is done. They got the long nails. They've got the eyelashes.
It's TV, man.
They're all made up. They're ready for their close-up.
It's TV. Well, I remember when I was doing TV, and this was at Channel 32, and we had this woman who was going to speak about her 5-year-old who had died of some disease, and she had been told that it's really good for her to express this stuff and help, for the cause, the cure, the disease, or something like that. And all I could think of was, I just felt so guilty just using that as, okay. And then we're going to talk about diets in the next segment. No, so anyway,
whatever happened between you and Fox 32?
Oh, we'll get to that. Oh, you just don't stop, do you? You just don't stop.
I think it's got to be a good story.
It's a story. It's so good. It's a saga longer than Shogun on TV. You could break it down into its distinct parts. So here's a story that I would have led the news with. Just not a lot of violence, but you could actually see the violence, because so often with these murder stories, it's after the fact. You got the squad cars with the
sure,
the sirens and everything, but you don't have the actual violence. And this, though minimal violence, is kids near a McDonald's, and I'm not sure exactly where this is. I assume it's on the
Stony Island.
So Stony Island, yeah.
Yeah.
Where a lot of my relatives were from. And then they made the migration, like about 50, 70 years ago. But it's a McDonald's on Stony Island. Traffic is going by slowly, and there's these kids pushing each other around, fighting. It has to be brought up. It's quite a few kids out there. Sure. It's not as good as those Saturday night things that happen downtown. That's by invitation only, I'm sure. Those things that are. This is like the minor leagues, but at least it's something. It's a weekday. It's light out. You can see it, as opposed to these nighttime ones on the weekend.
It's nothing really new, though. It's like, oh man, what's wrong with these kids? What's wrong? What's going on in those neighborhoods? I grew up in a middle class white neighborhood, white as could be, and they had to build our city our own McDonald's, because the closest McDonald's was at another city, and it was our rival high school. And there were so many fights outside that
really?
McDonald's, that they had to build a McDonald's in our town, so that the kids after school would be segregated and wouldn't.
Chris, note, I'd like a new partner here. Come
on.
I was looking for the race. I was looking for the racial angle here, and you're saying it happens everywhere. Okay.
This stuff has been going on ever since Fonzie got jumped by a rival gang outside of Arnold's.
Okay, all right. So, but I was imagining, let's say you had this tape, and we could go back and show this, because you're saying it was happening, and you were way before.
But you're right. It would happen after dark.
Okay.
Most of us were in school in the middle of the day.
Yeah. All right. Now oh, man, that was a skate save by you, buddy. You were this close. Anyway. So, but let's say it was on Channel 7 News circa the year 2000. And Joel Daly would toss it to Chuck Gowdy to find out, Chuck, what these kids have these strange magical devices that they're holding in their hands. What are those things? And it's like everybody's videoing each other. They've all got these. Look, and these are supposedly, poor people from the inner city. They've all got devices that Louis the 16th would have killed for. And it's just amazing. Everybody's got.
What's actually amazing is that enough kids were able to put their phones down for enough time to fight. You would picture it's like all just standing around filming each other, going, "Is anyone going to take a swing?"
Right.
We had nothing to film.
They're all observers now. Where are the good old fighters?
Nothing to film. Listen to me. You can tell what generation I'm from.
Yeah. Also,
nothing to film.
Yeah. Right. Exactly. Film at 11 used to be. Also, big question that I would have had. I would have sent Chuck Outie in there. Were the McDonald's fries made with beef tallow? That's an important one too. But I just. All right.
They got to go back. McDonald's has to go back to the beef tallow.
I'm with you on that one, man. So let's take a look at this tweet from Tesla. Tesla's been tweeting lately about the virtues of its cars. I actually have a friend who has a Tesla, and he'd gotten it before Elon became prominent politically. And apparently you can put this sticker on your car that says something to the effect of, "I hate Elon," but I Elon free Tesla. Anyway, here's a Tesla.
If it's not a Cybertruck, you can just get a Honda badge and put it on the back.
Oh, okay, there you go.
No one's going to know the difference.
It's like when Volkswagen. It's the flip flop of when Volkswagen people used to put Rolls-Royce grills or Mercedes emblems on their Volkswagens as a joke, but now you're trying to mask your Tesla, I guess. All right, so Tesla
can't do it with a Cybertruck though. We've got there's an attorney in town who has a Cybertruck, and he always would park it right out front of his office. And I notice now it's parked in back behind the dumpster. It's no longer visible from.
Why doesn't he just take matters into his own hands? And if people give him trouble, creates his own little Tiananmen Square with his tank that he's driving and show people a thing or two. All you have to do is pick off a couple of people. Anyway, so Tesla has this tweet. It says, "Autonomy at scale makes cities more livable and gives you back the most important thing in life, time." Extolling the virtues of the driverless car that you could ride around in. But you know what, Tesla, Elon, what's another thing that gives you back the most important thing in life, your time? Is working from home, which you have gotten rid of. I mean, have you done it with the government? And more power to you for doing that. But yeah, another autonomous thing is not having to go into the damn office to begin with.
And let's be honest, the reason why people want self-driving cars, it has nothing to do because they want more time to catch up on that novel that they haven't had a chance to read.
Right.
It's because they don't want to have to call an Uber to get home from the bar. And then have to go back the next day and get it. They want to be able to just stagger out to the car, pass out on the front seat there, and push home.
I was looking for a more sinister, what to do with your hands there, a Jeffrey Toobin kind of answer to that question. But I guess there's all kinds of answers to that.
I always thought that Toobin involved a river, but I guess not.
So. Here's a tweet from Chief Nerd. It's about Melinda Gates apparently splitting up with Bill. And I don't really want to hear what she has to say, but Chief Nerd.
Well, I found it really interesting because she said she had no trust. That the trust, when trust is gone, there can be no intimacy. So I had to go. No, Melinda, he's worth $100 billion. Of course you had to go. I mean, come on.
I concur, but much sympathy to Melinda, for having to deal with this. I gotta just looking at her in this video and not even with the sound on it. I think she's gonna have to drop a couple of pounds if she wants to get back into the marriage market. I don't think she'll be very attractive.
She's worth between 12 and 30 billion, depending on who you believe.
Billion, 12 and 30 billion.
Yeah.
Right.
she can have any guy she wants.
I'm still thinking,
She wants an artist or a
all right, maybe not 20
professional
pounds.
bodybuilder.
Maybe 3 to 5 pounds, just to show that she's making the effort. That's all. Yeah, all right, I'll take you. I'll go out with you. Yeah, because you do have the 20 billion, but let's see a little effort here to doll yourself up a little, hon. Yeah. I mean, see, you're coloring your hair, but 3 to 5 pounds. If you were only worth like 7 figures, I'd say 20 to 30 pounds. But that's just the way men are, and she wants to make herself attractive to anybody. All right. So who do you like in the Bears draft tonight? This is running the day after.
Cardinal Obiglio.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't. Is that a real name?
Close as I can come. Yeah.
It's good enough for me. Same as all the draft picks. It's all a bunch of laundry to me. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. So it's your choice of which you want to be bored the lesser over. You want me to talk about Steve McMichael or Lee Corso, who didn't die, but he's leaving ESPN after 38 years. I got a nasty story about Lee Corso.
Oh, definitely. We want to hear it.
I mean, the thing about McMichael is his funeral, and I knew him, and he was a great guy. But I think his funeral is going to serve as like the de facto 40th reunion of the 85 Super Bowl Bears. Plus, we've been talking about him like for the last year or so because he's, been in very bad shape, and he made the Hall of Fame. So it's just, this has been going on for a year anyway, but there's, some, all right, real quickly, I'll tell you about Steve McMichael. Okay. Before we get to Lee Corso.
Sure.
So yeah, I think McMichael, and you're familiar with him, right? I mean, Bears defensive line.
Not until he died.
That's good enough.
I didn't move to Chicago until 86. So it was.
Yeah, well, he was still around there, and but it's okay.
He wasn't Tim, the 85 Bears.
If I were Don Rickles right now, we were back then, I'd say, well, who cares? You're gay. We know that. It's fine. It's nothing to be ashamed of. Hockey puck. Anyway, so Steve McMichael. It's one of the most iconoclastic moments in local Chicago TV news. He created it. So he used to do this recap show about the Bears games on Sunday nights on Channel 5. It was on like at 10:30 at night. Did fantastic ratings, okay? And he do it with Mark Giangreco. And I did a show with Steve after he got fired by Channel 5. And it was on Channel 32. And it was technically better, I think, than Channel 5 show, but it just didn't have the impact because Channel 5 was like a cathedral. And, it's better if you burp in a cathedral than, on
sure.
The upstart place. I mean, it's kind of like me and Steve Dahl. Some people, maybe even Steve would say that we were technically better than Steve and Gary, but they were the originals, right? Okay. Anyway, Steve is sitting in the sainted Carol Marine's chair on the Channel 5 set. Are you familiar at all with Carol Marine? I mean, she was like the anchor lady. Okay. And he's sitting right there, and he's on with Mark Giangreco, and he makes a remark about his wife, who he was razzing, being a member of the Kotex Mafia. Okay, says this on the air. He's sitting in Carol Marine's chair. There's Carol Marine right there, sitting in Carol Marine's chair. I mean, that's the Iron Throne of Chicago broadcasting feminism. And it was really about as transgressive as it comes, especially back then, like in 1992, too. So kudos.
So when was the Springer? When was the Springer exit? Was this?
I mean, the Springer thing was just. I mean, that's a whole.
She left for the Spring because of the Spring. She was part of the Springer exodus, right?
Look, here's the story. I mean, she was kind of long in the tooth for a news anchor at that point. She was about 48 years old, which was old then for a news anchor, a female news anchor. Now you've got
her meteorological skills were far behind her.
Well, she wasn't the weather forecastress, but she was the newscastress. All right. All right. I may as well just say how much I like Steve. So this was the last show that Steve is, I think after his last game as a Chicago Bear, and is our last Sunday night show, like in 1993. And we wanted to get Steve in like a Santa outfit to go outside because the Bears had a bad season. Go outside in a Santa outfit with a kettle and try to raise money for the Bears. It was a cute thing. But they had lost that game, and he was not in a good mood. He was a real team player and everything. Like I play as people are saying about it, he played every down in practice. He played hard. So they just lost. He wasn't in a joking mood. But, he still was a comedian. He was a real funny guy. So he relented a little bit, and he wore the Santa hat. Wouldn't wear the whole outfit, but he wore the Santa hat. And he,
with the
kettle and the bells.
The full kettle and bells?
Yeah, wow. It was cute. But after that broadcast, he and Richard Dent, another Hall of Famer, and Dent's wife, and Robin Robinson, the newscaster from our show, we all went to a bar afterwards. As a matter of fact, I think Robin got me invited because I don't think Dent wanted me. Whatever, I got invited. Okay, so Steve and I were sitting next to each other.
Which bar?
Yeah, I can't. It's a nice place, down a little west in the West Loop or something like that. And he had a few drinks, and he was known to have a few drinks. And he's also a big tough guy. Okay, and a big tough guy has had a few drinks and starts talking to you at a bar and doesn't want you to, and I was trying to like leave because I wanted to go to bed, and he said, no, a little more, and he'll just touch you a little bit by the collar, and okay, I'm staying. But
still with Santa hat still?
He didn't have the Santa hat on that point. But so I stayed, and and he was talking about family life and the demands on him, and because he had achieved a certain amount of acclaim and money, and the demands by the family. And so the last thing in the world you want to be when you're a cynical, sarcastic sportscaster is somebody who's suckered in by the humanity of Steve McMichael. But he was a tough guy, also very funny and a sweetheart. Okay, now can I break bad on Lee Corso? Okay,
I'm ready.
All right. So Lee Corso is retiring from ESPN after 38 years. Oh, he's so well loved, former football coach, and he was on ESPN for so long. So we had him on Channel 32 in the morning show for one of these remotes. And we'd have these stars. I met a lot of stars this way. They'd come on from a remote somewhere. You talk to them for 3 minutes. They promote something for about a minute and a half. Okay, that's the reason you get them on. And so he was promoting Florida tourism. So it was for 3 minutes he was going to be on. So I let him endorse Florida for about the first minute and a half, which actually is kind of violating because you usually want to talk to him about something of substance, but then let him sneak in the plug. But I was generous enough, let him promote Florida. But then I asked him about college.
I don't know if I could talk for a minute and a half on Florida.
So then
it doesn't snow. That's pretty much it. That's
enough said.
Florida tourism.
Miami Beach, sun and fun capital of the world.
Miami Beach, Disneyland, and it doesn't snow.
That's it. So then I asked him about college football. And I made a joke about the Notre Dame coach, Charlie Weiss, who had stomach staple surgery. Now, I'm committing a great faux pas here. I don't remember the joke, but I do remember that they made a similar one later on ESPN where Corso worked. And I think he even was there when they made the joke, and he didn't say anything. But when I made the joke, he got angry, and he said, "You're talking about my friend Charlie Weiss." And so I go, wait a second. I let you pimp for the state of Florida for the first minute and a half. And then I tell an innocent joke and you're yelling at me. So he takes off his mic and walks off camera. Okay, storms away. Now, I'm pretty sure my executive producer at that time, a guy named Neil Wolf, really enjoyed that exchange. Tamron Hall and David Navarro, the co-hosts on the show, were appropriately slack-jawed as they should have been witnessing the work of Chicago's greatest local TV news sportscaster ever. But that's my Lee Corso story. So,
and you still had your job at Fox 32 after that.
It would be I was only one car keying away from losing my job at Fox 32. But yeah, that's what happened. That's my memory of Lee Corso. That's the kind of personality that I had. On TV. So your memories of Steve McMichael and Lee Corso, Tim?
Yeah.
Zero. Nothing.
Well, I did a podcast once with Bruce Wolf, who worked at Fox 32 before he keyed a car at the auto show, and he knew both of them and had terrific stories about both Lee Corso.
That's all you need.
And
That's
Mongo.
all you need.
Yep.
I got a tweet. Did you get this, Chris, from Lee Giangreco? She's actually related to Mark Giangreco, but that's not why I want to use it. I sent it to you. She lives in Chicago, okay? And she says, I feel like we had a glorious 20 years where everything stopped smelling like cigarettes, and now everything smells like weed, and I am literally so sick of it. Now, I got to tell you, I mean, this is emblematic of where we're going. I mean, I congratulate her for that. But, you know, we could expand on it. We've really gone too far. I mean, when the author of Harry Potter finds herself canceled because she didn't like to want to be on the side of men and women's sports, and now you have somebody like Lee Giangreco, you know, a typical young, striving liberal who lives in the city and can't stand the stink of marijuana. Maybe we're turning the corner. Maybe this is where Trump actually gets his footing again.
Well, she's forgetting what happened in between cigarettes and weed, though. There was where it all smelled like Fruit Loops.
Oh, okay.
Because they were doing the vapes.
Chris asks, "Is that Mark's daughter?" No, no. Mark has 3 boys, but I think.
Well, you don't know that.
Well, at this point, you don't. But I know she's related, and I know she's liberal Democrat. Mark's brother is like a Democratic political operative, and Mark's very liberal too. But at some point, it bites you, as it did with Mark, because as I've said before, he got suspended for a couple of weeks for tweeting that Trump voters were simpletons. Got suspended from Channel 7, and then he wound up getting fired for sounding like a Trump voter when he made fun of his colleague, the estimable news anchorette Cheryl Burton, when he basically said she was a ditz. So, oh no, he was just kidding. He wasn't. No, he's not really racist. That's what all Trump voters say. We say that, right? We're not racist. Oh, sure, that's the excuse.
No,
anyway.
It's like being a witch. Only a racist denies being a racist.
Exactly. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.